Hey, it's Pete here. Have you ever had your opponents be really slow and you're worried about running out of time and not sure what to actually do? But then you're like, should I call the director? Is that okay? What actually happened? What do I even say if that's the case? Well, today I want to talk about how you actually call the director. I also want to go over a few common situations where you should be calling the director and what should actually happen. What's the general procedure? Now, for all of these, I'm going to be talking about playing face-to-face. If you're playing online, you just want to click the Call the Director button. If it's on BBO, it might be in the three blue lines and then Call Director. But when you're calling the director or you have the director called on you, firstly, nothing might have gone wrong. It is completely fine. Do not worry. But it's important that if you're going to be calling the director, you want to make sure you don't put off the opponent, scare them as well. So you want to, what I usually do is tell them, oh, I'm just not sure about this part or something here. I just want to check with the director. So you tell them first, and then you go, director, please put your hand up so the director can actually find you in the room. Now, it's really important not to be really aggressive or make it seem like someone's done something wrong. The director isn't a weapon or anything that you want to be using against your opponents. It's for when strange stuff's happened and you just want rectification for it. So make sure that you tell the opponents that you want to check this with the director. And you don't need to be like, oh, this person did that, I need the director here. You're just like, well, I'm not sure. Let's just grab the director. I just want to check. That way you don't scare anyone. Everyone's still having a really pleasant game. And you can get the director called. They can check it over. They can sort it out without any issues. So the next I want to talk about a few different situations that might arise and my general thoughts on how they should be approached and whether or not you actually need to call the director. So I want to look at, well, what if your opponents are being really slow or you're being really slow? What should happen? What if there is a lead out of turn? What should happen? What about a revoke? And finally, I want to talk about what if someone takes a really long time to bid something and then passes and their partner bids. So there was a hesitation. What should actually be done with those? So first of all, lead out of turn. I think this is a pretty interesting one. And if it's never happened to you before, you might be a bit overwhelmed when the director actually comes because there's usually about 5 options to choose from. And it's really far from clear what should happen. You can prohibit the lead of that suit. You can force the lead of the suit. You can become dummy. You can have it be a penalty card, or you can have it just be a card that plays and have it come around to you. There's lots of various options. Now, the two main things that I look for here is firstly, is the lead coming around to an honor? Is it a good lead for me? Or is it better to have partner play the hand? Because you have lots of options of, do you want that suit led round to your honors? If you do, just accept that lead and have it come round. If you don't, usually you want to bar that lead and make them just choose anything else. But there are lots of times where you're not actually sure if it's a good lead or not, so what should you do in those cases? Now, my personal preference is just choose the penalty card. You can be worrying about this, but there's so much information. If it's just a penalty card where it has to be played at its first legal opportunity later, you've got some benefit that might be useful later in the hand. So that's my general approach there. So check if the lead's useful or not. After that, if you really don't want that suit led, bar it. And failing that, you usually just choose the penalty card. And that's my general approach there. The second one I wanted to talk about is, well, what if the opponents are being really slow or you're being really slow? What should actually happen there? And what are you entitled to? So usually what happens is if a partnership is being particularly slow, what you want to do is just say, okay, I think that you guys have taken more of the time here. I just want to reserve my rights for time. So I just want to call the director and reserve my rights for time. And nothing's gone wrong. No one's done anything bad. So it's important to notice that. But what that means is if you do run out of time, then you're not going to get penalized. The opponents might, you're not. So if you call the director and reserve your rights for time because they've been particularly slow, then basically if you run out of time, then you get that remedied. It's also worth noting that If you are behind time, it's important not to panic and think that, oh, I have to rush to catch up. Sometimes you have these really challenging hands. Usually it's better just to have a board get missed at the end rather than trying to rush to catch up. If you naturally catch up, great, go ahead, do that. But too often I see people take really long time on one hand and then try and rush to catch up, and they mess up some later hands, which isn't what you want to do. You want to play at your normal pace, maybe a little bit faster, try and pick up that time gradually. But if you run out of time, you run out of time. That's okay. Also, if you are going to reserve your rights for time, you want to make you want it to be clear that the opponents are the ones that definitely took a lot of time. Maybe they took 10 minutes during the play of one of the hands or something. So you want it to be very clear to everyone that you want to do that. Also, if they do that just on the first hand, there's still usually plenty of time. So you want a few boards to play. But if you do notice you're behind time, just say you want to reserve your rights, call the director. So what about if you think someone's revoked? What should actually happen here? Well, when you notice, you want to just go, oh, I think there's been a revoke. You let everyone know, I just want to check with the director, and get the director to come quickly to the table. Because what often happens when you say, I think there's been a revoke, is people try and work out where, and everyone starts turning over cards just to check if that actually happened. Now, this is part of the process that should actually happen, but often the director will arrive and the table will have half their cards face up, and the director won't really know what's going on, and it'll be in a bit of shambles for them to actually solve that. So it's usually best to go, oh, I think someone revoked. I just want to check with the director, get them to come to the table, then you start explaining with when you think what happened, and under the director's supervision, they'll say, oh, which cards to actually turn over. That's a better approach to make life a lot easier for the director there. And then the final thing that I wanted to touch on is, what about if someone hesitates and then their partner bids? A common misconception in bridge is that if you hesitate, then your partner must pass. So often I see people call the director just because someone's hesitated and then their partner's bid. Now, it's usually right to call the director if there has been a hesitation and their partner has bid, but that's not what the rules actually say. It doesn't say that their partner must pass. What happens is if someone hesitates, then their partner still has to make a logical action given what their hand is and what's happened in the bidding. And they sort of have to do the opposite of what the hesitation would suggest. Now, it's hard to sort of explain that, but there's plenty of times where their partner should be passing or should be bidding or should be doubling. All of these are perfectly fine. Now, what you want to do is just call the director and say, there was a hesitation here, and then this person bid. I just want to get this checked. And the director should go, okay, carry on. I'll take a look at it. That's basically what the director should do. And basically, if you think that the partner of the person who hesitated acted on that information once you've seen all the cards, you call the director back and go like, I just want you to check it. I'm not sure if it's clear or not. So that's how you should approach it if they hesitate and then make an action. Again, no one has done anything wrong in these situations. It's important to appreciate that. Some abnormalities do happen, but you want to make sure everyone enjoys it and it's not threatening. You shouldn't be worried about calling the director. They're there just to help you have a good game. So thanks all for watching, and we'll see you next time.